everyone, and welcome back. Has Rivers State finally reached a turning point? After months of political confrontation, constitutional uncertainty, and an intense power struggle between Governor Siminali Fubara and the Rivers State House of Assembly, the governor is expected to appear before lawmakers today to present the state's 2026 appropriation bill. If that happens, it will be more than a routine budget presentation. It could become the strongest indication yet that Rivers State is slowly moving away from political conflict and back towards constitutional governance. But the bigger question remains: has genuine peace finally returned? Or are both sides simply choosing cooperation because they have no other option? According to multiple sources within both the State House and the Rivers State House of Assembly, all arrangements have been concluded for Governor Fubara to present the 2026 budget before lawmakers led by Speaker Martins Amewule. The presentation is expected to take place at the Assembly's temporary legislative chamber while reconstruction of the main assembly complex continues. For many observers, this is a remarkable political development considering the bitter disagreements that have dominated Rivers politics over the past several months. Not long ago, such a meeting appeared almost impossible. Today, it appears increasingly likely. Sources close to the government house described today as a decisive moment. One government official reportedly declared, "Today is the D-Day." The governor will present his budget. Similar confirmation also came from sources within the assembly, who indicated that lawmakers would sit today and we are expecting the governor to formally present the state spending plans for the next fiscal year, while official precedents will ultimately determine what happens. The fact that both sides now appear willing to engage each other sends an important political message. Dialogue appears to be replacing confrontation. But these stories go far beyond the presentation of financial figures. Budgets are not simply accounting documents. They are roadmaps for governance. Every major infrastructure project, every school renovation, every hospital upgrade, every agricultural program, every security initiative, and every public service depends on an approved budget. Without legislative approval, government activities face constitutional limitations that affect both public institutions and ordinary citizens. That is precisely why today's presentation carries enormous significance, not only for politicians, but also for millions of Rivers residents. The delay in presenting the budget was itself a direct consequence of the prolonged political crisis between the executive and the legislature. For months, disagreements between Governor Fubara and the House of Assembly created uncertainty over the state's governance structure. Court cases, constitutional debates, and political negotiations dominated headlines, while many important government decisions remain in limbo. As the crisis continued, concerns began growing over how long the government could continue operating without a duly approved appropriation law. Those concerns became even more serious when the constitutional 6-month period allowing government spending without a new budget reportedly expired at the end of June. That development left many stakeholders deeply worried. Civil servants questioned whether salaries would continue without disruption. Contractors wondered whether ongoing projects would receive funding. Government agencies became uncertain about operational financing. Investors watched developments closely, knowing that political instability often discourages economic confidence. The absence of a budget was no longer just a political issue. It has become an economic concern affecting thousands of lives. Recent developments, however, suggests that relations between the executive and the legislature may be improving. The Rivers State House of Assembly recently approved the state's 2026 to 2028 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, commonly known as MTEF. Although that decision received less public attention than the wider political crisis, many analysts view it as the first meaningful sign that communication between Governor Fubara and the Assembly had resumed. Without the passage of the MTEF, today's anticipated budget presentation would have been much more difficult to achieve. That naturally raises another important question. Has political reconciliation finally taken root? Or is this simply a temporary truce designed to keep government functioning? Political disagreements are common in every democracy. Legislatures and executives often disagree over policies, appointments, and priorities. What distinguishes mature democracy is not the absence of disagreement, but the ability of political leaders to resolve differences through constitutional processes rather than prolonged institutional paralysis. Rivers State now has an opportunity to demonstrate exactly that. The people of Rivers State have perhaps paid the highest price for the political conflict. While political actors battle over authority, ordinary citizens continue facing everyday challenges. Roads still require construction. Hospitals still need equipment. Schools still require funding. Businesses still depend on government stability. Communities still expect government projects promised during election campaigns. For many Rivers residents, today's budget presentation is less about political victory and more about restoring normal governance after months of uncertainty. The implications also extend beyond Rivers State. Across Nigeria, governors, lawmakers, political parties, and constitutional experts are closely monitoring developments. Rivers has become one of the country's most politically significant states, and its internal disputes have frequently generated national attention. If today's budget presentation proceeds peacefully, it could become an important example of how political dialogue can eventually replace confrontation. It would also reinforce the principle that constitutional institutions remain the proper avenue for resolving political disagreements. At the same time, it would be premature to conclude that every issue has already been resolved. Restoring political trust requires more than one meeting or one budget presentation. It requires sustained cooperation, mutual respect for constitutional responsibilities, and a shared commitment to putting the interests of citizens above personal or political ambitions. Nigerians have seen political truces collapse before. That is why many observers remain consciously optimistic rather than overly celebratory. Will today's cooperation continue tomorrow, next month, or next year? One thing is certain. If Governor Fubara successfully presents the 2026 budget before the Assembly today, it will represent one of the most important political developments in Rivers State this year. It will demonstrate that, despite months of intense disagreements, constitutional governance remains possible when political leaders choose dialogue over division. Whether this becomes the beginning of lasting peace or merely another chapter in Rivers' complex political history will depend on what happens after the cameras stop rolling. For now, all eyes remain on the Rivers State House of Assembly. Political observers, civil servants, business owners, and ordinary citizens are waiting to see whether today's proceedings unfold as expected. A successful budget presentation could restore confidence, unlock government spending, and signal a fresh chapter for one of Nigeria's most politically important states. The budget itself matters, but the symbolism may matter even more. It represents an opportunity to replace uncertainty with stability and conflict with cooperation. What do you think? Has the Rivers State crisis finally come to an end? Or is today's budget presentation only a temporary pause in a much larger political battle? Share your views in the comments below. If you value in-depth political analysis and balanced reporting on Nigeria's biggest stories, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates. I am Cassie Tony, and many thanks for watching.